Corey, dude, you and I are checking out a game called Highwater, and I had high hopes going into this game. The art style, obviously, right, gravitates to it. You and I speaks heavy when we get into art styles like this. I thought it was very cool, very refreshing as well. I think to kind of take this look into basically what is set up as almost like apocalyptic setting, but with a different charm and personality to it, right? Everything's flooded. Kind of took me back to the old days of Flame in the Flood, which is an incredible game. But you get into this one, and we set out as basically a teenager, Nikos, and away we go. And we're trying to get to the end to then get out of this mess, more or less. I'll leave it at that without spoiling the story, right? So you are set off to explore, gather your party together, and then get into these turn-based combats, and then just continue on. It's supposed to drive this story. Before we get too heavy into it, Corey, I want to kick it to you. What are your thoughts jumping into Highwater?
Well, this game's right up our alley, right, Drew? It's got the visuals. That's the first thing you notice in this game, and I think no matter who you are jumping in, is that art style. It's very unique, but they've done a really good job here. It's, you know, there's not a ton of detail in the characters, but it lends really well to the environment they put you in. You start the game in your little dinghy boat, the Argo, and you've got this kind of lo-fi music in the background. It's actually really pleasant. The game's pacing, I find, at times tends to be maybe a little slower than you'd want it to be. It's just kind of the way they've set this game up, and you're going to run into it, throughout the entire playthrough. And like you said, the idea here is Nikos and his crew is going to make it to the end, and we're trying to get to Alphaville and hop on the rocket that's going to take us to Mars, because all the rich people are going to Mars because the world is now pretty much gone. Food supplies are low, and that's really where kind of the main story lens here. And you meet some characters along the way, and you don't really know how you know them. They just know you, and they fight alongside with you. And that's actually probably where the coolest part is here, Drew, is the combat in this game. It's the part I enjoyed the most. There are some things here we'll get into, but just on the onset, it's kind of a unique style of turn-based combat. We get these characters, they have different abilities, but it's really more like a puzzle than just a straight-up fight, and you want to use the environment around you. There's lots of things to interact with, whether it's items that will kind of hurt you or the other team. It all depends on where you are on the kind of the game board, you know what I mean, as far as the squares and the layouts where you put everybody. And that's kind of where the charm of this game lies, is figuring out the combat, because the tutorial doesn't really give you too much. And even when you first get into your first couple of fights, movement, what can I hide behind, what can I move around, what can I attack, how far can I attack, there's some things you have to figure out, and once you do, it opens up a little bit more. But again, that's something I feel like should have just been laid out right from the get-go, and that's where you start to notice that this game maybe isn't as smooth as you'd want it to be.
Absolutely. The combat is actually one of the biggest problems I had with the game. I played a lot of turn-based combat, and when you get into these tactic kind of games, this game style, right, you can go into Overwatch. So then you go down and you set yourself up so that you're not going to get picked off, or you can go and duck behind something. Dude, the biggest guy I've got, even the smallest person I have, which is Nikos, you duck behind something, it doesn't matter. They still shoot you regardless, right? It's like, you have to say, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, how about you just don't bring a paddle to a gunfight either? Because that doesn't work, right? The combat, dude, was frustrating. But, like you say, it has this puzzle mechanic. Okay, so when I get hit with the gun, it's going to take down 3 health. How do I avoid this? What do I do? Nico's got a camera. You flash that person with a camera. That stuns them. That kind of alleviates that movement for the opponent, right? And then you position yourself. You knock a tree branch over. So there's certain ways to figure out the puzzle. It's just, dude, it didn't hit. And then when you get into the characters themselves, the whole purpose behind the story, dude, everything just felt empty at the end of the day, right? It was boring. You are on your dinghy, and I tried to venture out. That doesn't happen, man. I felt like I was just on a road, going straight down. You can sometimes duck in, but you can't duck out, because the minute you do, you're bounced back in. Right? It doesn't allow you to really go out and explore the environment. And then when I do get into some of these environments, because you can dock to some, sometimes there's stuff there. So other times there's not, and you're just going, well, why did I even bother getting off? Like, what was the point of getting off and onto this land to then have my party follow me, to then realize, well, there's nothing here. Well, I guess I gotta go back to my dinghy, but I can't, because everybody in my party is like right on top of me, and I'm like bouncing. I'm like, move, please move. Can you just get out of my way so we can get back on the boat and away we go. It was just, man, I had higher hopes for Highwater, and I was just left wanting so much more than what I got out of the game, and it was just kind of disappointing. Corey, all in all, I think we were just left a little still floating across the water. I don't know, not even a dinghy. It felt like a raft, actually. I just wanted so much more to this game, right? The beautiful art style, even the intro, the music, I'm like, yo, here we go. And then I'm 10 minutes into the game, dude, I felt like I was just drowning. I just wasn't connecting. So slow to get going. And then to meet the people that just don't have any personality. You don't really understand what's going on, and who these people are. There's just left, and then the combat, like there's just so many things of, it just missed so many of the boxes on the checkoff list, right? And it just, for me, dude, 5.5. There's potential. It just didn't quite hit it all.
Yeah, you know what? I'm there with you too. I'm just a little bit higher. I'm at a 6. I think this game delivers on certain aspects. I think the art style is really unique. The audio is great. And it's the two things that really stand out. The combat is something I enjoyed, but it took a bit of time to get into. And I don't know if everyone's going to want to take the time, especially with the pacing of this one. So it's going to be tough, but I think it's going to stay as a 6 for me.